On today's episode of the Gripe Session podcast, we welcome former New York Mets pitcher Jeff Innis.
It's Gripe Session time with your host, George Wanaka.
It's about nothing.
Discussing everything from real estate, current events, a little bit of everything, and the annoying little things that just tick you off.
You can't handle the truth.
What? You didn't know?
Here's your host, George
Your ass
Wanaka.
better call somebody.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How we doing today? Welcome to today's edition of the Gripe Session podcast. And today, we're unfortunately still in our quarantine pandemic where we got no baseball. But have no fear, the Gripe Session is here. Today, we welcome former New York Met side armor, Jeff Innis. Jeff comes on the podcast today, and he just goes into a bunch of different things as far as his career goes. And then we really have a conversation. Quite frankly, one of Jeff's biggest gripes has a lot to do with some of the stuff going on nowadays with politics and things of that nature. So it's definitely an interesting listen, and I hope you enjoy it. Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of the Gripe Session podcast. Although some of you are going to see this on video on YouTube, so welcome regardless. We are still in our coronavirus mode, which basically means is there's no working, there's no sports, there's no basketball, there's no baseball, there's no freaking nothing right now. So we figured we're going to start to give you a little bit of baseball. And what else can I do but bring you another former New York Met, someone I met at New York Mets fantasy camp, my buddy Jeff Innis. Jeff, tell everybody what's up.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? How are you, George?
I'm good, buddy. How's things by you?
It's awesome. I live in Georgia, so we opened up about 5 weeks ago now. So it's awesome.
Okay.
April 24th.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. Right now, it's like now I'm getting out maybe once a week now to play golf, and I can't even play golf in New York. I got to drive over to Jersey to go play golf. So, but at least I'm looking forward to it. But as you would know, things always happen when like I want something to happen and it doesn't. Like a couple of weeks ago, I went to go play golf, and I was so stoked to play all week, and it freaking poured the whole day. It poured, Jeff, and I was just like, really?
You played anyway, though, didn't you?
What's that?
Did you play anyway?
No, I couldn't play. It was when I tell you it was buckets, drizzle I can deal with. Buckets, not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much.
I'm playing in the morning.
I'm playing Saturday morning, so that should hopefully be a good time. But anyway, moving right along, Jeff. So you were drafted back in 1987, and obviously you played your whole career for the New York Mets.
Right.
Talk a little bit about your journey of starting out as a little boy, getting ready to go up and moving up through each level.
Okay. So first, I made my debut in 87, but with the Mets on May 16th, but I was actually drafted by the Mets in 83.
Okay.
But so I grew up in Central Illinois. I played baseball, basketball, and football, and I loved every sport. So every like football season, I thought I was going to be in the NFL. Basketball season, thought I was going to be in the NBA. And baseball season, thought I was going to be an MLB player. And then as I got older, those sports, of course, start dropping off, and the last one left was baseball. So, I played high school baseball. Of course, I was, a good player, like everybody, is. And then, I went to the University of Illinois. I got a scholarship to pitch at the University of Illinois, and I played there for 3 years. Played out in Cape Cod in the summer leagues for a couple years. And then I was drafted by the Mets in 83, my junior year, from the University of Illinois. And I was just really ready to get out of school for a little bit. I was a junior, so I had to go back to get my degree, but I knew I'd do that. But, when I got drafted by the Mets, they sent me to Little Falls, New York in 1983, and that's where my minor league career started right there.
Okay, shout out to Little Falls.
Yeah.
So obviously, one of the main questions that a lot of people when they see somebody who's not of the normal everyday type of thing, or the way they battle, where they throw. How did you start out with? Did you always throw sidearm, or was that something that developed over time?
So this is a good question. So when I was in high school, I was a regular pitcher, just threw overhand, and I tinkered with it a little bit because I used to see Dan Quisenberry, who was the real popular, really one of the first ones that was really popular that did it, and I just messed with it a little bit. And it was really easy for me, but I didn't do it much, And then when I went to Illinois, University of Illinois, we had a fall season, and I pitched regular. I didn't pitch sidearm, but every once in a while I do it. So after the fall season, my freshman year, after the fall season, so we're getting ready to play the real spring season, I sat down over Christmas break and I ranked myself on a staff of 12. And I ranked myself 10th on that staff of 12. And so I knew I had to do something. And so I knew I could get guys out, because in the little bit I did it during the fall, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. And then I talked to my coach about it, and he was very much into that because he wanted to make me his closer and all that. So I just did it, and it was just super easy for me. And it was, I was just really good at that. So that's how that started, and it continued. And of course, when I started though at Illinois, and even into my first couple of years in pro ball, I was more underneath, And then when I got into A ball, Jim Bibby was my pitching coach in Lynchburg in A ball. It was my second full season, but my third minor league season with the Mets and their minor league organization. He suggested that I don't come under so much, but get more to the side. And so, because I was missing not only in and out, but up and down, and it's hard to get that release point when you're coming from underneath. So that really was a great suggestion, because it gave me a lot better control coming from the side as opposed to underneath, true submarine.
Okay, great. So as you were coming up, you started to say that you had played different sports throughout your high school career, and it's funny because I had KB on the other day, and I've had other coaches come on from fantasy camp, and it all seems to be the same story, for lack of a better term, which is, a lot of the people nowadays are like, well, concentrate on one sport and just go nuts on that. But it seems like a lot of you guys are basically saying, play as many things as you want, because, you have a love of the game and you'll figure it out as you get older. Would that be right?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. So the only difference is, like, I think if you're a great athlete and you love those other sports, you should play them. But when I was young and, we were younger, they didn't have year-round sports, really. When football, you played baseball and end of April until, August. And then you start football until like November, December. Then you play January you play basketball until baseball started. And so there weren't really a lot, except for maybe AAU basketball at that time. There weren't really any year-round sports, especially year-round baseball. So I think there is a little more pressure on the kids these days just to keep up with some of the, with the guys that are playing all year round. Maybe there is a little more pressure these days to play, at least if you're going to play like I see a lot of really good athletes now that are good baseball players. They'll play football and they'll play basketball, but they really never stop playing baseball either. I mean, a lot of them don't cut it off. They'll at least keep playing a little bit or keep working on their game all year round. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, we've heard from a lot of different people, and like I said, a lot of the former coaches from the camp, and a lot of them, and myself included, always feel that at some point you got to give your body a rest, right?
Yeah.
So you got to have other muscles and work on other muscles. Like basketball trains different muscles than baseball trains.
Right.
We just watched a documentary on The Last Dance where Michael Jordan was in baseball shape, which didn't necessarily transfer to basketball shape.
Right.
So, I think that, and I can't draw any correlation to it, but I believe, in my opinion, that that's where a lot of the injuries from these young kids get developed, because all they're doing is baseball, 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 baseball throughout the course of the year, and they don't have any chance to, have their shoulders rest up or heal up or kind of go down that road. So to me, I'm kind of that thing is, listen, one sport ends, the next sport begins, and you're still growing. So
Right.
if you're being told to make a decision at 10 years of age, pick a sport, and you're kind of like, wait, the kid's 10 years old. Like,
Yeah.
this kid's going to get hurt. So,
Right.
but anyway.
No, I agree with you very much. And I also think you combine that year-round kind of activity of throwing a baseball, especially with like early weight training, and you combine those two activities, and those tendons in your elbow and really in your whole body, but especially in your elbow, they're like guitar strings, man, and they snap, because they're so tight. I mean, your arm is in such like throwing shape, and those muscles and tendons are strengthened from that. And then you combine all the weight training, and I think it just creates an environment in your arm where it's just going to snap so much easier because everything's so tight in there. And
Sure.
I always say it's like a guitar string.
Okay. So we kind of have hit along a little bit. You and I obviously met in Mets fantasy camp, which I've gone for the last couple of years, which has been a tremendous time. Talk about how you as a coach and some of the other coaches, how you guys have been to the mountaintop, right? You've achieved that boyhood dream, and every kid that picks up a baseball says, I want to go out and play on a major league field. And then a bunch of us hacks come in and essentially try to play. And granted, it is fantasy camp, but if I don't say family camp on this podcast, Nick Scalabrino is going to get angry because I didn't mention it. And I didn't say family camp. So Nick, there's your shout out today. So talk about what it's like to been there and then watch us come in and try to do what you guys did on such a high level for so many years.
Well, everybody asks that. Everybody, like, how do you guys put up with us? I mean, we're like hacks. And of course, some guys are, like you're one of the top players in camp. And so is Nick, actually. But like, and there are some guys that are really getting on in age, and some guys that are older, some guys that just aren't good players. But, and so, yeah, of course that's obvious, but like for me, just me, it's like, I swear, like I've been doing this, it's like I think it'll be my third or fourth year. I look forward to those 2 weeks in January more than any 2 weeks throughout the whole year in my whole life. I mean, I love going down there.
Don't tell your wife that, you're going to get in trouble, Jeff.
See, the beauty of that, George, this is probably one of the only good things about being divorced. See, I don't have any.
Okay, well, that's it. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
But like, no, but so when I see guys, of course, we all laugh at each other. I mean, guys laugh at themselves. The coaches laugh. Everybody's giving each other crap, and that's true. And
I know that. I know that. I know that this year.
Yeah, you got it big time the first day.
Yeah.
But like, but like, what I love, and I'm not just saying this, and what's been great for me in my life these last few years is coming down to camp and seeing the passion that you guys have for not only baseball, but for the Mets. And it has truly reignited my passion for baseball. I swear, I was like, take baseball or leave it, didn't watch it that much. But so it was a great shot in the arm for me to get reintroduced to the love of baseball again by you guys. So it's a little bit of an irony, actually, but like, I love being down there, and I love making you guys, like, we're friends now, and I've met so many people that I would consider good friends. And it's like, it truly is something that's a blessing in my life. I love being there, and I love it so much, and laughing at all the guys, and them laughing at me, and them laughing at each other and themselves. It's just part of a great couple weeks for me. But the best part is just the friendships and the camaraderie and the family atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was funny. I would tell everybody, I initially, when I went down there, was supposed to be one and done, right? And we know a lot of people that do that they're one and done. And, and I've said it on this podcast probably ad nauseum at this point. But once you get down there and like after the first 2 days and you walk in, you see your uniform hanging with your name on it, that experience alone is just tremendous. But the fact is like I got halfway through the year and I'm sitting back and through that first week, and I'm like, all right, how the hell do I come back? How can I pull this off and get away with coming back? Because again, it does everyone turns into one big happy family.
Right.
One of the coaches gives my son pitching lessons. Figgy reached out to me and he wasn't even my coach and says, "Oh, I heard your son pitches." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I'd like to work with him." I'm like, "What?" And like a bunch of you guys, we all have each other's cell phone numbers. And like the fact that I can sit back and look at my cell phone and say, I have Jeff Innis's phone number. I have Nelson Figueroa's. I have Todd Pratt. I've got Doc Gooden's cell phone number. Now, Doc Gooden used to hang on a poster above my bed when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can talk to this guy any freaking time I want. I'm like, that is just cool as anything. So, a lot of.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I got a text from Doc last year, and I was with a bunch of my buddies, and I'm like showing everybody, "Hey, Doc Gooden texted me."
So, I mean, a lot of credit. We always shout Doug out on this podcast. Doug Dickey. I think I'm going to get Doug on one of these podcasts just because people have to put the face with the name, the man, the myth, the legend. Doug always does such a great job making us feel like, quite frankly, professionals between the locker room, the events he puts on, and he's really one of the good guys, for lack of a better term. So
he is.
So just to ask you the question, we're coming short on time here today, so I don't want to keep you. I know you probably got 100 things going on. So, Jeff, what are you doing with yourself nowadays outside of coming to fantasy camp? What do you do with yourself nowadays?
So I live about an hour north of Atlanta.
Okay.
And I live on a town called Dawsonville, Georgia. And I live on a lake, Lake Lanier. I live right on the lake. I got a dock and a boat. I spend a lot of time in the summer on the lake. I'm a little bit isolated, but so that's where I live. And then for professionally, I'm a commercial insurance broker.
Okay.
So I insure businesses basically for their liability and workers' compensation, et cetera. And I do it mostly here in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area.
You do any E&O insurance and stuff like that?
We do it all, yeah.
Okay.
We do.
That's good. So anybody that watches this in Atlanta, hey, you need insurance.
Yeah, there you go. I'm also licensed in New York, by the way. So,
are you really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I do. And then I have a couple kids, 25-year-old son, Keenan, that lives in Midtown Atlanta. And he actually played baseball at Georgia Tech and graduated a couple years ago. And my daughter Shannon lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's 24, and she ran track at Georgia Tech.
Nice.
So I'm super close with them, and it's great during the summer because they always come home on the weekends and hit the lake with me, and we have some fun on the water. So nice. A lot of fun. Nice.
I have a friend that just moved over to Charlotte, and I got a couple friends in Atlanta, Georgia, actually, a couple realtor friends of mine. So
well, you have to come down, escape the quarantine, come down and hit the lake with me.
I might have to do that one of these days.
I live 3 minutes from a golf course. 3 minutes. And it's a nice one.
See, that's hold on.
There you
that's
go.
that fishing on the lake right
I'm
there.
reeling him in.
So, Jeff, again, we appreciate you coming on the podcast today. So one of the things that I ask every person that comes on the Gripe Session is if Jeff Innis had one thing that he gripes about, and it could be somebody at a grocery line, it could be baseball related, it could be whatever it happens to be, what's the one thing that that just takes Jeff off and goes, what the hell are these people thinking about?
So I'll stay there's a lot, of course, in life, but I think right now, and I'll have to really kind of tightrope answer this question, just in the environment that we're living in right now, first with the virus and now with the civil unrest that's going on in our country. I think the political divide that's going on, fueled largely by the media, just irritates the crap out of me. I wish it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we can do to fix it, but that's without getting, trying to answer this question without getting political myself, and becoming opinionated and sharing my politics with everybody.
Sure.
But just that division in our country, and I think it's largely fueled by the media, and it just pisses me off. It just irritates the crap out of me. So that's it.
I can completely agree. It's actually funny that you go down that road, because I think one of the things that's missing right now is everybody is yelling, but nobody's listening to each other.
Right.
And that's really part of the problem, in my estimation. We have a friend that went to fantasy camp this year, and he's part of our little clique within the clique. And I don't want to say his name on here, but we call him Liberal Adam, right? So Adam, we all went out to dinner before camp started, and Adam was part of that dinner. And a lot of us around the table were more on the conservative side, or wherever you want to be, on the Republican side, or wherever you want to go with that. And Adam would classify himself as a liberal. So the problem, at least in my estimation, is, so this is our friend, and we're listening to his point of view, and we're talking in a way, and we're talking about where our disagreements are with what his views are and what our views are, but we're listening to each other, and we're actually having a civil conversation. Oh my God.
Right.
The problem is, I think, is a lack of civility. And people like to put blame on every single person that's out there. And it's like, wait a second, I'm only going to be concerned about me. And can I have a conversation with somebody civilly? Here's a friend, I don't necessarily agree with his politics, but I can sit back and say, I want to see where this guy is coming from. And I think that's, quite frankly, what's missing in politics and society nowadays, just in general, is nobody's listening to each other. Everyone's asking who yells the loudest, as opposed to who makes sense.
Right. And I think a lot of that, at least, with, normal, just everyday people, is fueled by social media and the lack of accountability. It's so easy to throw an opinion or pass down an erroneous meme or an erroneous article that has no basis in fact from both sides.
Exactly.
And then taken as gospel, and it's just shot on down the line, and people read and go, oh my God, I didn't know that happened. And there's no truth to it.
Yeah.
But there's also no accountability. You send out a political post, you pass one on, and then you turn your computer off and you go out for your day. I just think it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't lead to like a back and forth, a listening. It's just you're throwing your thing out there, and then that's it. And there's no face to face anymore. It's just all on social media and Facebook and Twitter and this and that. And it's just a shame that and I just, like, that's where it comes. Like, I don't know what the solution is to that. It's a little bit discouraging.
I mean, it's funny. You sit back and we talk about social media, and I'm on it, you're on it, a bunch of people are on it, and we see all of the same posts a lot of the times. And if you're on social media and you don't see it, and quite frankly, you obviously are paying attention. To me, the thing is are they really giving us facts, or are they trying to negate the social media algorithm and trying to purposely put out something controversial to get more views, to get shared, to up their profile on social media so somebody listens to them and kind of go from there? Which a lot of people, I've actually watched them do this. I'm going, if that's not helping anything. And I think that's part of the problem is the media is another thing, but they control the airways, but they don't, because we have these things now, like this podcast. like, I'll take this video, I'll put this up on YouTube, and all that stuff is free. So the right message can get out there, whether it's popular or whether it's not. But you need enough people to sit back and say, we need to stop the madness, and we need to sit back and start listening to each other again. And whether I agree with your politics or not, see if you can put yourself in that person's shoes and go, okay, like, I get this.
Yeah.
Where they're going.
You know what I noticed, and I don't know if I don't live in my hometown anymore, and I haven't for forever.
Sure.
But it's so funny that in my hometown of Decatur, Illinois, little central Illinois town, we have African American people, we have white people, Hispanic people, and I have a lot of diversity within my friendship group from my hometown, and a lot of people come from different political persuasions, and opinions. And it's so funny because we've known each other our whole life. We knew each other when we were little. We are so tolerant of each other's political opinions because we know each other. There is an accountability there. And even while we're on social media, we're on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter, but we're on Facebook in this case. There's such a respect there, and it's because we know each other. We know who that tweet or who that Facebook post is coming from, and we appreciate their position because there's that accountability, And I just find that interesting. I noticed that. It's like, wow, everybody from my hometown, we really get along well, and we're so different politically. And I think it's because we've known each other our whole lives, and so there's that accountability. And that confidence of who we are as like an appreciation. I know that person's such a good person. I know who that is, and he or she knows that I'm a good person too. I just think that's a little interesting dynamic that I've noticed within social media. For me, anyway.
I definitely agree with you. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on today's edition of the Gripe Session. Hopefully, we'll get baseball back here sometime soon.
Yes.
And we really didn't go too much into that, but maybe we'll get you back on another episode of the Gripe Session once we get baseball, and we'll talk about kind of what's going on with the Mets and go from there.
Would love that. Thanks so much for inviting me on, George. I really had a good time. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, pal.
Well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank my guest, Jeff Innis, for coming on the Gripe Session podcast today. I really appreciate Jeff's time. We were taking a little bit of back and forth to try to get him on after a while, but we finally got it done. And Jeff, we really appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the podcast today. Now, again, please, please, please subscribe to this podcast. Hit that rate and review button on your iTunes podcast or Spotify or on Stitcher or wherever you listen to fine podcasts everywhere. And not only that, in the event that you might want to see the actual video of what went on during the course of the podcast, hey, have no fear. I'm here. Go to my YouTube channel, Living in Staten Island. Hit that subscribe button. There's already a bunch of videos up there. One of them is Andy Chavez when we had our interview with Andy. He's on there. Nelson Figueroa is on there. We just got a bunch of ones that are on there. So when you have an opportunity, go check that one out as well. So that being said, do something nice for somebody you wouldn't normally do. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next edition of the Gripe Session. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Gripe Session. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.